here at 6:59 because there's the other big thing happening in Hall H right now. We have a few people who are striving. I don't want to start to miss everything. But folks, has it been a good show for you so far? All right. Good year. You know, is it years or more crowded this year? Yeah. Okay, I'm not alone in that. Okay, well that is good. Any pre-show questions before we begin? Anyone want to ask a pre-show question?
We got the Q&A mic right there in the center.
No, I can hear you for now.
Why would anybody go to Hall H and the Robotech Panel's here?
Well, don't let Bob out here when you say that. Or for Jack or come on in, folks. Come on in. It's good. It's good. Come on in. Who has not gotten a flyer yet? Raise your hand. Oh my. Oh my. Okay. My good friend Fred's going to hand this out. He's got a whole bunch of cool stuff. The flyer we're handing out has QR codes on it. And it will take you to any of our exhibitors who are here at the convention. And also we'll tell you about the signing tomorrow, which our two guests up here will be doing. We'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, tomorrow it's Titan Comics. Tommy and Brandon. 10:30, excuse me, 10:30. There we are. Anyone not got the flyer yet? Anyone not got the flyer? Bueller. All right. Okay, everyone ready to go? Yeah. All right. Well, I don't need to start this panel off on a downer note, but we've lost. Yeah. We've lost. There are two people who are key to the Robotech franchise that we lost. First off, Greg Finley, the voice of Captain Global and Supreme Commander Leonard, and also Tom Weiner, who is the voice of Colonel Jonathan Wolf. And they both passed away this year. Now, not only were they amazing performers, but they were also amazing people. And folks, every performer, whatever they do, they always strive for one thing, and that's a standing ovation. So what I ask you all to do is, please join us to give these two amazing performers one final standing ovation. You ready to count 3? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Now, let's get to our panel ground rules. First off, per San Diego Comic-Con agreements, only entities with a valid recording license are allowed to record the panel. Non-flash photography of the panel is allowed. We encourage fans to use hashtag Robotech and hashtag SDCC on social media. For everyone's enjoyment, and this happened to me last year, folks, please take a moment to silence all of your mobile devices. Don't worry, if someone calls, I'll personally vouch for you, okay? I'll see you in the Robotech panel. And please hold all the questions until the end, because you see, folks, in this box, each of you who ask a question are going to get a free Robotech comic. And you're going to see, folks, they all have cool variant covers here, so no two covers are going to be the same. All right, folks? And now, with that out of the way, my fellow Robotech fans, members of the industry, and invited guests, welcome to the Robotech Comics, Toys, Games, and so much more panel here at San Diego Comic-Con. Let me introduce you to our awesome panelists here. Let me welcome to Ray Tyra from 3-0. Gregory Kraut from 3-0. Tommy Yune, our creative director. And last but certainly not least, the writer of Robotech, Rick Hunter. Please welcome Brandon Easton. Folks, let me start you off with a brief update on our high-definition streaming from our partner at Crunchyroll. All 85 episodes of Robotech are now streaming, excluding Japan, worldwide, in HD on Crunchyroll, along with Robotech the Sentinels. And ladies and gentlemen, Robotech the Shadow Chronicles. But you know what? Everyone keeps asking us, Kevin, this is great, this is awesome, but what about the original shows? Ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased to announce that all episodes of Genesis Climber Mosquito are now streaming worldwide, excluding Japan, on HD on Crunchyroll. Yes. But folks, people say we will have updates on Southern Cross and Macross very, very soon, so stay tuned. But while we wait for those updates, we are pleased to announce a new license, Advanced. Advanced has launched a new line of drink shakers that are on sale now. And these drink shakers are great because they have this awesome new energy drink called Yune Horticulture. It's quite good, folks. Trust me, you're going to love it. And folks, while you're drinking your Yune Horticulture, you're going to definitely want an Advanced Robotech Challenge coin as well. And folks, while you're drinking your horticulture and enjoying your challenge coin, it may be warm right now, but eventually it's going to get cooler. And keep warm, you're going to need your Robotech Fighter Group Bomber Jacket, which is on sale now. Yes, folks, I actually brought one of these to Japan for special for VIP, and he loved it so much. He had like a suit and tie on. He took off his suit. He kept that on when he wanted to ride Tokyo Metro. That's how cool it is. And folks, these are all on sale now from our friends at AdvancedGG.com. And folks, our friends at Reflex Collectibles have created a 1:1 scale VF1 flight helmet. Yes, pretty cool, huh? Here's another view of it as well. These are on sale right now from Reflex Collectibles. And our friends at Strange Machine Games are now shipping Robotech Reconstruction for $45, along with the Robotech the Macross Saga role-playing game. This will be followed by Robotech Homefront, the supplement to the Macross Saga, which will cover both the Robotech Masters and New Generation. And here is some of their artwork from our awesome Francesco Echon. Here's some more of it. Would you see one more? Yeah. How's that? Check that out. Know who the Cyclones are fighting. Oh, here's one more, by the way, too. Yes, pretty cool, huh? Well, folks, I talked to our friends at Strange Machine Games. They told me Robotech Homefront will be shipping here in August 2024. And folks, this is an exclusive debut here for San Diego Comic-Con. Our friends at Strange Machine Games have a new role-playing game. Would you like to see it? Yeah. Watch this video.
When the galaxy came to mankind's home, it brought the promise of war to our doorstep. The warriors Antradi came to claim their lost battle fortress in the name of the Robotech Masters. We won the war, but at terrible cost. But this was but the prelude. We knew the Robotech Masters would return to finish what their servants had started. And thus, we prepared the home front for the inevitable conflict. But this was not the only plan. For humanity to survive, we had to spread to the stars. Not only to find new worlds to live on, but to take the coming conflict to our enemies. And in the depths of space, we would find our place in the universe. In the galaxy at large, we would form new allies. The Sentinels Coalition, an alliance of aliens. The Carbarons, the Garudon, the Spherians, the Praxians, the Peritonians, and the Haydenites. Together we fought the greater threat, the Invid, and won. But the cost of freedom was our planet Earth. The remaining Invid conquered in retribution, leaving the stars our only home. While liberation will come, a different darkness stirs at the heart of the universe, which threatens to awaken. Robotech Among the Stars contains all equipment, figures, mecha, starships, and information for the Sentinels and Shadows Chronicles sagas of Robotech. The world of Robotech expands across the galaxy with more potential stories, with a vast array of aliens, worlds, mecha, and enemies. New rules, talents, races, and careers will expand your stories in the untold sagas. Join the pioneers.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Robotech Among the Stars is now, you can actually pre-order this via Kickstarter. Look for the Kickstarter Robotech Among the Stars. You can join the expedition today. And while that is moving forward, our friends at Kids Concept have their new line of Robotech action figures. These are available right now, along with the Rick Hunter tuna variant, limited to 300 pieces, followed by the Yune Max Sterling figure. And by the way, this uniform is made of actual cloth. Oh yes. Also, Max is joined by his daughter, Dana. Yes, the 112 Dana Sterling figure comes in a standard uniform and comes with the battle armor. But folks, here's what Kids Concept did. They didn't want to make one figure where you try to put on the armor and stuff. They're going to sell you two figures for the price of one. So you get both the Dana in her standard uniform and Dana in the battle armor, two separate figures for the price of one. You can order this right now at kidsconcept.com. And folks, for you new generation fans out there, do not worry, we have you covered because we've got that super scale Cyclone on display downstairs at Toonami booth 3229. Oh, and by the way, with that new Alpha Fighter as well. Yes. And here's a look at the cockpit. And here's a close-up of the actual sort of chest area as well. There's a nice little carve out. If you go down to booth 3229, you can see this right now. And do not worry if you're worried about transforming toys. But Kevin, what about the VF1, you ask? Well, our friends at Kids Concept have their new line of transforming VF1s in 1/72 scale. They have high die-cast content and LED lighting. Both the VF1J and the VF1S are available, along with the Maximiria variants. And the God of Flame. Notice anything there, folks? Yes. And their dark gold version, along with their very limited dark blue version. But speaking of VF1s, I want to bring our friends from 3-0 into the conversation here, guys, because you have your new line of VF1s. A lot of people are asking, what's the new Kids Concept? Well, tell us more about your new sort of perfect transformation of VF1s.
Yeah, so our figures are around 163 scale.
Say it again.
Yeah, so our figures are a little bit larger than the Kids Concept ones. They feature die-cast metal skeletons inside, get a lot of nice durability and heft to them, and they are, our sculpt is more cartoon style, so you get a little bit of the chunkier arms and everything on there. And yeah, they're about 8 inches tall, about 163 scale, so it's a different scale point, and they range around $150.
All right, and folks, so explain to me, the VF1J is on display right now.
Actually, the VF1J, the VF1S, the Maximiria variants are all on display at the Diamond booth 2401.
Oh, really? 2401. Okay. Now, what is this? You have a battle damaged version? Could you explain that?
It's a weather variant.
Well, actually, here it is.
Yeah. So basically, the demand for the VF1J was so great, we decided that we would just make another version. And this version is actually U.S. region DBTS exclusive. So we sold it to them, and they have a coming soon page where you can bookmark it. So when it comes time to pre-order, you're ready to go.
All right. Well, very cool. Thank you, gentlemen. And you know, speaking of, I want to bring in Brandon and Tommy here because I want to talk to you guys about Titan Comics. Brandon, you wrote the Robotech Brick Hunter series, and Tommy, you helped him with it. Explain about the comics here. This is the covers to issue 1.
Yeah, so those are all the various covers for issue 1, and Brandon actually starts off with a really cool story for Rick Hunter, and here you're actually seeing the progress of the artwork starting at the line art stage and progressing through colors. And Brandon actually, he hit the ground running. He needed no introduction to Robotech, grew up with it, and actually went into the lore of everything from the Robotech video games to the TV series and obscure material, and wove his story together from all of that.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to do a story that took place after Macross but before the Sentinels, because that's still a very massive gray area. So the video games as well as the novels. I mean, I was there the first time it ever came on in American television. So I am a hardcore fan, and with that said, you know, without spoiling anything, obviously I can't say too much. I did deliver a massive proposal that goes from the end of the Robotech Rick Hunter series all the way up to and through Shadow Chronicles and beyond. Now, I don't know what'll happen to it, but the whole point is that you are looking at a hardcore fan. I'm not somebody that had to walk in and didn't understand the property or the franchise. So, yeah, I just wanted to just let everybody know how proud I am, and you have a fan in me working on this stuff. And I'll stay around as long as they want me. So just know if you have any questions about the process or how I put it together, you know, feel free to ask at the end or whenever Q&A starts.
And Tommy, from what I understand, we're going to have a Robotech trade paperback to this as well?
Yeah, so that's coming out next month in August. So all 4 issues of Robotech Rick Hunter are out. You can get it through Comixology if you have trouble getting the physical paper copies, but we actually have some for you here, and we'll also reserve some at the Robotech X fan booth for anyone who comes by later. We'll have a limited number. And also tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m., Brandon will be doing a signing. So if you either get one of these comics or you have some of your own with you, we'll get them all autographed for you guys.
I believe they may have some at the Titan booth.
Oh yeah, they'll
for
have
sale.
Yeah.
So you can get, if you missed the individual issues, all 4 plus some supplemental behind the scenes material is all available for a very, very extremely reasonable cost.
Yeah. So, folks, we have some excellent guests up here. So we want to open it up to Q&A. But before we do, we just want to reveal one more thing. Next year will be the 40th anniversary of Robotech. Here's a first look at our logo. Yes. So, folks, here's the deal. You ask a question, you're going to get a free comment. We have a box full of them, so feel free to line right up here at the microphone. Feel free to ask. We'd love to talk with you, hear what's going on. Hold on one second, Dan. I want to go a line behind you. Give me a minute, okay? The line's growing, trust me on this. All right. Okay. Folks, Dan, you are our first question. It's always would be Comic-Con without you. Dan, what is your question? Please ask.
Besides the 80s, when Robotech was well alive, in the early 2000s, there was a renaissance. It was coming, there was video games and there was Shadow Chronicles sequel. There was good stuff coming out. I was wondering, will it ever get back to that level again as the early 2000s?
Well, actually, Dan, I gotta tell you something. With Robotech now streaming on Crunchyroll, along with the Sentinels, the Shadow Chronicles, and Genesis coming on the speed up, screening on Crunchyroll has allowed us to reach a whole brand new audience. Our Facebook page has actually grown by exponential bounds, getting a whole bunch of younger kids coming on because this is how they watch anime now. This is how people, the younger audience, watches television. They don't get up at 5 in the morning to watch Robotech, or run home from school to watch Robotech and watch on a local television station. They're watching it on streaming when they want to watch it. And folks, as you all know, Robotech, because it's serialized storytelling, is specifically designed for for the streaming services. And being on Crunchyroll skews a much younger audience, which is also a stable and growing streaming platform. We're very lucky to have that there. As you saw, we have new comics, we have new toys, we have a whole bunch of new stuff, and there's a whole bunch of things going on behind the scenes you don't know about that. So just stay tuned on that, okay? Again, I'm going to give you a Robotech Brick Hunter comic. Here you go.
I want to give you a deeper answer too.
Yes, please go ahead.
So many of you may not know me, and if you look me up on Google or Instagram, but I have a long career in Hollywood and graphic novels. I worked on Marvel's Agent Carter season 2. I worked on Transformers War for Cybertron, Siege from Netflix. I worked on I have a movie coming out this year with Quavo from the Migos called Takeover. I've worked in the business for a long time, and one thing I say as a fan and a professional, to get back to where you were saying, like the kind of renaissance and groundswell, that requires help from the fans too. Because if you notice Marvel material, MCU material, or X-Men 92nd especially, folks were like going crazy sharing stuff, you know, talking about it. One of the things we really got to do, and I'm not just saying this because I wrote it, but like when we get new Robotech material, we've got, as a fan myself, let other people know it exists. Because that groundswell of support, that's why we have the Acolyte. That's why Star Wars came back. The expanded universe, people did not stop talking about it. That's why Thrawn showed up on the Clone Wars. Rebels, and then Ashoka. You know, so I'm just saying that, not to throw like a grenade or anything, but I'm just saying that it's a community effort. So if, like for example, you talk about the Robotech books, the novels have been re-released, the omnibus just got re-released. The more that we as fans talk it up, we'll get people, other folks, to think about it. Like he was saying, younger kids have been turned on to Robotech who never even heard of it before. You know, and I have family, I have younger kids, and I'm just like, hey, check this out. And they see like transforming robots that's not Optimus or Megatron, and they're like blown away. So I would just say, let folks know it exists. That's the only way to keep it alive. And that's just my 2 cents as a professional and a fan. So.
All right, sir, next question.
Brandon, what was your most challenging or, if not interesting, part of making the comic?
Oh, wow. I wanted to figure out a way to make Vince Grant more interesting. And I know because he's Bowie's dad, and he's also showing up in Shadow Chronicles, but I feel like there's this big story of who this guy really was. And even though it was called Rick Hunter, I also wanted to get into what was it like when Rick was, what was he, 17? When he joined the RDF? How old was he?
Yeah, he was like barely 18.
Yeah, like what happens to a person who's put into a cockpit and has to kill a bunch of people or die? So there's several parts, if you haven't read that book, where Rick talks about, I was a kid soldier, you know, and then I met a woman and I was torn between a pop idol and a woman who was actually better for me. What is that like? Like this, no, I'm serious. So the character forward stuff, that's why I said it's like if you, a lot of folks didn't read it yet, but because they were like, oh, well, you know, there's, you know, fans, some fans. But folks who did read it was like, wow, you know, we learned more about Vince and Vince's connection to Anatole Leonard. You know, what is that? So the challenge was to dig into people who we already know, but also get to know them more. Because I still feel like Rick is an enigma. Like why, like who is he? He's the hero, but what else? What was it like to fall in love or infatuation with one woman and then fall in love with someone else? What does that do to you in the middle of a war? So stuff like that, finding ways to make these folks even more interesting. That's not in a prose novel. So, yeah.
All right, sir, here you go. Next question.
So I want to know, is anyone going to create and make any SDF ones for?
Well, gee, if you guys were toy company up here, what about that?
Is that something that people would like to see?
Kind of to echo what Brandon was saying, no company wants to be left behind. When they see people making a lot of noise about something, right? So while I can't promise you that we are going to come out with one for 100%, we are not making one unless we make it properly. Yeah, that's the properly part.
All right, thank you. Sir, next question.
My question for Brandon, were there any ideas or thoughts when you were making the Rick Hunter that
you couldn't go in that direction that you can share with us, or was this like the original idea that you had coming out?
No, I think the challenge really, it wasn't that it wasn't hard to keep ideas out. It was trying to keep a very small amount of time extremely interesting and fun and action-packed, because we did not have the space. I mean, if it was up to me, that would have been a 36-issue series that started at the end of when Rick and Lisa are standing there in the snow and then we walk slowly, it would have started there and ended right when the SDF-3 is fully operational. But I had 4 issues, not 36. So I just had to make a little this little part really cool. Yeah.
All right, next question, sir.
Oh, yeah, this is about a toy too. I really love that the Humber tank. Are they ever going to make that? Because every time I go like to one of these cons, they always have that toy. Oh, is that for sale? But yeah.
I personally would love to make a fully transformable Humber tank, but we need kind of the audience to make noise and tell us and put out demand and let us know to our bosses that that's what the fans want and that's what the fans will support. Because, yeah, it's never been done before. It's always just been 2 modes, the old Matchbox one, but I think we would crush it.
Yeah. And not just the Robotech too.
Oh, yeah. All right, here you go. Sir, your question.
Any update to the talks from last year about talking with Funko? And yes, Diesel is better.
Well, so what's the question?
Any updates on the talk from last year's question about talking with Funko, like in the line of Veritex or something with Funko?
That's up. We have a partnership with our friends at Crunchyroll. There's a licensing. You have to go through a licensing process. We'd like to see that happen. Our door's open for any license. You'd be surprised who we're willing to talk with. It's not as easy as calling up and just saying, hey, I want to do a deal. Let's do one. It's lawyers get involved. Not CS lawyers. Yeah, you understand. So there you are. So here you go, sir. Here's your comment. Okay. Sir, what's your question?
What is each of your favorite Macross or Robotech video games, and might we be able to expect a new one?
Where are our favorite Robotech or Macross video games?
Well, I like them all. We re-released Robotech the Macross Saga. It was originally for the Game Boy Advance. And so because the Nintendo Switch was a much more powerful machine, the original developers actually didn't come back to just port it. They actually rebuilt it from the ground up. So when you see the sprites in there, they're not still graphics. It's actually moving in 3D using the GPU of the Nintendo Switch. So they did a really, really good adaptation of it for that platform. And we have other developers who are interested in trying to see, how to make Robotech Battlecry work on real platforms. That would be a much more complicated undertaking, but that's something we're definitely, looking at.
Battlecry. I just love going up into the house.
How do you jump?
Battlecry for me as well. I mean, just being able to switch between all the different Veritex and the colorways and everything is great.
I could lie and say Battlecry as well, but I have not played any Robotech. I know, I'm sorry, sir.
Mine is Battlecry, but I died after 10 seconds. Here you go, sir. Here's your comment. Great question. Next question. Hey, hello there. Yep. Which question?
So we heard rumors before about there'll be a Robotech movie, but it never happened. So
It hasn't happened yet. Those rights
well,
are
that's what I want to ask is basically when will the blockbuster Robotech movie come out?
I mean, Sony's still very, very committed to it. It's just that this happened to the whole industry, not just Sony, is everyone's schedule just got pushed way back because of pandemics and strike.
So
And
there are plans.
that's something that they're still working on. They're just taking their time. I mean, we're of the opinion we would rather not have them just push out something to hit, rushed date and then have it not be up to fans' expectations. So, we would rather have them do it right.
Well, Sony, kind of what Tommy said, Sony understands about not rushing something out. Folks, we've all seen live-action anime adaptations. Do not say their names. We've all seen it. We all know reasons it did not work. Sony understands to make a Harry Potter franchise, what they want to do, you gotta do it right, and as Tommy said, that takes time. And you have to add too that Robotech doesn't exist in a vacuum. Harmony Go doesn't exist in a vacuum. We live in this ecosystem called Hollywood. And Hollywood's a pretty wacky place, and as Tommy mentioned before, the pandemics, the strikes, the huge amount of corporate debt that's been incurred for the streaming wars, that's all had an effect on how Hollywood is operating. So there's a lot of things there. But as Tommy has said, Sony's fully committed to the film. Sony, unlike other studios, is also strong and stable and fully committed to the theatrical experience. You need to think about that too. That's why it may take a while. It hasn't happened yet, but we definitely want it to have happen. So here you go. We give you and your kid two Robotech comics. Okay, here you go. Okay. All right. Next question.
Yes. Last 5 years ago, I went to Critical Con. So, are we going to have our 40th anniversary of Critical or Robotech Con, and entirely for us fans to go to and like celebrate Robotech?
Like, you want like a Robotech Soul connection?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say what you. And then I apologize, this is going to be a really technical answer. But the economics behind standalone conventions really do not work. If you notice something, folks, we're not at Robotech convention here in San Diego. We're at the San Diego Comic Con. And notice something. It's not just comics either. We have Wolverine and Deadpool in Hall H. We've got anime. We have comics, we have literary SF here. It's a whole buffet. That's how the economics of the conventions have changed. The last really franchise that was able to sort of pull it off, standalone conventions, was Twilight. Yes, but even there, that sort of imploded upon itself after certain actors broke up. But no, it's not. I understand. You guys can do all over the convention. What we're talking about is we'd like to do is do more panels and events at shows like this one. Now let me ask you guys a question. Would you like, for next year, for the 40th anniversary, would you like to see, we're going to do one panel, would you like to see us do more panels here at Comic-Con next year? Like 2 or 3 per day. We're going to various other aspects of the franchise. How many of you would like to see that? Raise your hands. All right, I'll have another time at Comic-Con today. This is later this year about this, so I'm going to do that. But while you're ready, sir, I'm going to give you a Robotech comic. So here you go. Excellent question. Here you are. All right. Sir, what's your question?
Yeah, so you kind of touched base on this a little bit. I'm glad to hear that Sony's trying to stick to the original guns and feelings through the Robotech series. But we've seen, like you said, over and over again, adaptations be made to kind of appease generations that aren't the original generations of Robotech. What are your guys' thoughts on these industry leaders that are changing these iconic shows just to appease the current nature of television or animated series today?
What is our, I'm not sure I understand your question. What is our opinion
on the changing of the originals, I guess, storyline, villain arcs, main character arcs, everything? You see it a lot in the adaptations that have been manipulated today.
Actually, the answer to that question, it comes back to with this. You notice there isn't a film yet because Sony understands you can't change, just willy-nilly change stuff. As I mentioned before, the previous other anime adaptations, on which we not say their names, Sony saw that. Sony has seen that. And just to give you an idea too, when I was having a meeting with the top Sony executives, okay, I was giving a presentation to explain what Robotech was and how it all worked, and I was stopped by the president of Sony, his name is Stanford Manage. He said, Kevin, what is the difference between Robotech and Transformers? Wait, before I could answer, two Sony executives got up and gave a perfect, I can't go into it, it's going to went into some deep proprietary stuff, but they gave a perfect answer. Pretty much they said, in Transformers, the robots are alive, but here, the robots are just machines with the humans piloting. It's about people. And Stanford went, I see, understood, continue. You know, and he said, oh, by the way, I want more robots in the marketplace, so start cranking up more stuff. And we said, no problem. But just to give you an idea, they understand that, as I said before, they do it with the Harry Potter franchise. To do that, you've got to make sure that first film is done right. Whether it's Harry Potter or Transformers or some other franchises, the long-running franchises, that first film is always done correctly, where the fans are happy. Lord of the Rings is a good example of that. The hardcore Tolkien fan base loved every second of it, but it was also accessible to the larger audience who never picked up a Tolkien book. So I know it's a longer answer, but
No, that's perfect.
yeah. Sony really gets it, and the relationship between Marvel and Sony is a very strong one. As you noticed, I was giving a presentation about that. Maybe I'll talk about that next year at a panel or something. Show you some behind-the-scenes photos. So now, while you're waiting, here you go. Robotech 300 comment. Here you are. Excellent question. All right, sir.
Hi. So I was just kind of wondering, have you guys considered doing plastic model kits, or Rebel, static
Like the old Rebel kits, which
or
you
even gun
like Gunpla or something. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you like to see us import the model kits from Japan?
Yes.
Whether it's Macross or Street or Southern Cross. Okay, I'll talk with someone about that. So, okay. Yeah, very good. All right. Very good. All right. Yes.
Have you ever, I guess, what if, right? Like multipliers, like what if Rick Hunter ends up with, or what if he cheats on?
Alright, so you want an alternate universe scenario.
What really happened?
Okay.
Gentlemen?
That was the big draw of Titan's run for the last several years, up until recently, until Brandon introduced this reset with his new storyline that he's telling right now, is that Titan started kind of like for Robotech, its version of a Kelvin timeline, in that everything started to unfold differently within Robotech, where the SDF-1 actually crashed much closer to our present rather than 1999, which is when Robotech was, the story originally unfolded. And instead of Roy being the first one dead, the first one dead was actually Captain Global. So it threw a monkey wrench into the story where you didn't know how to expect the story would unfold. And so that was actually a very successful run for Titan. And so we are willing to explore these types of what if scenarios. But the most important thing is we just don't do it for the whim of what if. We actually, while doing that, want to tell a good story.
I have another question, sir. For like arcade versions, any chance of having a game like Max and Murder? Playing the arcade?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it can be simulated, but the actual holographic part, that would be an interesting undertaking.
Maybe Oculus.
Yeah, with VR. Oh yeah. All right.
We have the technology. Why haven't they developed like a full sim where the seat moves around and you're surrounded by screens? You see the Veritex media kind of like in front of you.
We do have a partner named Sony. They have a little bit involved in video games. Yeah, maybe we'll talk to them. Yeah, sir, come on up and get your comment. Excellent question. Yes.
I have two questions. One of them was actually when Robotech was created. Everyone knows how Robotech was made. When they used originally the original Long Cross and the Southern Cross, they left out like Orgos, because technically like Long Cross, Orgos, and Southern Cross were under the Super Dimension anime trilogy. Was it because Orgos was just way too different from Long Cross and Southern Cross, or was it just some other reason?
I don't think you want to go into this.
Probably not.
I can if you want.
No, it's fine. Another question.
Basically, those three series were produced by Tatsunoko. Orgus went to TMS. So because of that, the licensing didn't work.
And Carl, when he looked at the 3 different series, he just thought it would be harder to write Orgus into the continuity. He figured out a way to do it with the other 3 series, so that's how it unfolded.
Other one is, are you planning on any new Robotech art books, or is like I'm trying to think, it's the one from Yune on your team, it's like the books that had like the tech manuals for like, and that,
Mafia.
Yeah, Mafia. Is that the art books we have?
So those are the 3 art books that covered the 3 original series. And just to give you a sense of comparison, each one of those art books are as thick as Robotech Art 1 was by itself. So it's basically you're getting 3 times as much material as before. So they're great art books, and Udon does, right now they're working on some other licenses right now for the time being, but they do want to continue doing more in the future at some point.
Okay.
A question before, just you, but also everyone else. How many of you would like to see us get more of the Japanese art books and translate them into? Okay, I'll pass that along. So here, come on up and get your comment. Here you are. All right, sir.
So 2 questions for you for the Project 3 folks. Do you have a roadmap for the next 5 years on what type of mecha or materials you'll be releasing?
I have one in my head that I really like to do, but it really comes down to logistics with our development team, and it's something that we're going to be discussing pretty heavily in the next couple months to really roadmap out the next 2 to 3 years. But since we have the VF1 body and it's fully transferable, and we've got the 1J, the 1S, and then the 1A is coming soon, and so then it's kind of going from there and how much fan support we get from all of them and how far we can get into it.
When we came out with the VF1J, it was our first prototype, right? So people were a little cagey. But since the release came out, all the partners started calling us going, I think we under-ordered. I'm like, sorry, you missed the boat, right? Because we had to get your order in the beginning. We made up for it by ordering a lot of small ones. So the pre-order for VF1S is still open until August 15th. So there's a lot of opportunity to get that one, and then later next year. And because this is becoming really profitable for us, like when that happens,
Folks, it's the last question.
So the last question for you is the Robotech.com store moved to Crunchyroll, but if you go to Crunchyroll, the inventory is a bit thin. Any thoughts on how that can be thickened up?
Yes. Tell you what you're doing first.
That's actually fine. Yeah. Well, for your feedback to them.
Well, good news for you is Crunchyroll is one of Breezer's customers, and I'm in constant contact with them. We'll tell them I talked to you.
Sir, the blue. Final question.
Okay. All right. So this is also about like a control thing. You mentioned it's available worldwide. I assume that also includes like subtitles in different languages, and also maybe subtitles and also audio changes as well, like Spanish or any other languages. Because I just know some that do like series other
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Oh, like since it's available worldwide, does it also like include like all the other localization? Yeah, localization, like subtitles.
It's subtitled in other languages, yes. So yeah, so for other territories. So that's the nice thing about Crunchyroll. We're really good at doing that. So. Okay, folks. Folks, we have to keep ending. I'm sorry. Folks, wait, you two, just so you know, we have comics up here, and for folks, for those of you who didn't get a comic, please come up here, we have a box full of them, okay?
And by the way, the comics you're getting are the rarest covers. So please take care of those.
Yes.